I don't know what he was doing. It was weird. It was weird to see that type of fighting. But anywho, that's not Jake Paul's fault. So Jake Paul did what he needed to do, and he won, and he looked good.
Jake Paul looked really good. I think he won all the rounds. I mean, it's good for boxing. I think he deserves a chance to fight for a world title.
Jake Paul did get fatigued down the stretch, but he still held on.
Mixed reactions to Jake Paul's victory over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Ryan Garcia tweeted, "Jake did his thing, outboxed Chavez Jr." Shane Mosley praised Jake's performance, saying he moved well and fought a great fight. He also criticized Chavez Jr., calling his behavior weird and suggesting it's time for him to retire. Many fans and analysts echoed similar sentiments, impressed by Jake's growth, while questioning Julio's effort and future in the sport after such a disappointing.
Jake Paul fought a great fight. You know, he moved around the way he's supposed to, throwing great punches, and for the experience he had, he did fantastic. Junior, on the other hand, he didn't throw any punches until the third or fourth round or something. He was just kind of walking forward, and I don't know what he was doing. It was weird. It was weird to see that type of fighting. But anywho, that's not Jake Paul's fault. So Jake Paul did what he needed to do, and he won, and he looked good.
Where do you think Junior goes from here, in your opinion, Shane?
Junior needs to retire from here.
Junior needs to retire.
He needs to retire. I mean, if you can't throw any punches in 2, 3, 4 rounds, you need to retire. I mean, if you can't, what are you doing? What are we doing? You just living off your father's name. That's basically what you do, because you didn't even fight until the last round, maybe last two rounds, and threw some punches, and you had some success when you threw some punches.
Meanwhile, Piers Morgan said, "I had a better fight with Jake Paul on Thursday than the unwatchable farce that took place tonight. The guy's lining his pockets with buckets of dollars, but he's killing boxing with this boring staged bull against older fighters way past their prime." Rayo Valenzuela, a respected young fighter in his own right, didn't hold back his praise after Jake Paul's win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. In a brief interview, Rayo acknowledged that Jake did his thing and looked impressive throughout the fight. What stood out most was Rio's comment that Jake deserves to be considered among the top 15 to 20 fighters in his division. That's a huge statement coming from someone inside the sport. It shows that Jake is no longer being viewed as just a YouTuber dabbling in boxing, but as someone who has earned a spot in the rankings through real performance.
To the fight.
Oh, great fight. Julio's back after all he's been through. So, I tip my hat off to him. It's not easy, especially through, what life throws at you sometimes. But, it was a good fight.
What'd you make of how Jake Paul looked and fought?
He doing his thing. Jake Paul's looking good. Shout out to him. Yeah.
Do you think he's ready to fight maybe a top 15, top 20?
Sure, yeah.
So I guess where does Junior go from here, in your opinion?
It's up to him. He can retire if he wants, or he can have another, fight like this. Fight a YouTuber or something.
Yeah.
Adding to the growing wave of support, Jose Benvitz, senior father and trainer of David Benvitz, expressed strong approval of Jake's showing after watching Jake defeat Julio. Benvitz Sr. said Jake looked really good and even suggested a future matchup between Jake Paul and his own son David Benvitz. He emphasized that Jake now deserves the opportunity to fight for a world title, coming from someone who has trained elite-level talent. This comment signals a turning point in how professionals view Jake, not just as entertainment but as a legitimate competitor.
I think Jake Paul looked really good. I think he won all the rounds. I mean, it's good for boxing. I think he deserves a chance to fight for a world title. He proved it today with the ex-world champion, Julio Cesar Chavez, that, he dominated and he did really good.
What did you think of Chavez's performance? Early on, he didn't throw a lot, and then towards the end, he had some moments. Were you disappointed in Chavez?
Well, I thought, he was going to try to get Jake Paul a little tired. He was blocking and taking all his shots, but I think he just got tired, and couldn't execute it. So Jake Paul did a great job.
Boxing commentator Showbiz, the adult known for his sharp takes and deep understanding of the sport, also weighed in following Jake's victory. In his view, Jake has improved significantly more than people are willing to admit. He argued that many fans still underestimate Jake because of his background, but fail to see the technical growth and in-ring IQ Jake has developed. According to Showbiz, Jake now possesses the kind of timing, discipline, and control that can't be ignored. It's no longer just about hype, it's about skill.
I looked at Jake. I was saying, thank you, Jake. Yep, I was saying thank you, Jake, a lot. The thing is, not to say that because he beat a 6-year-old Mike Tyson that, that impressed me with. What I'm saying is you couldn't really see everything that Jake possessed in that fight. He has gotten way better. I saw him training, and I'm like, the guy is good. He messed around and got good. You don't like Zurdo fight? Zurdo looked, that was one of the best I've seen, but the best times I've seen him. No, Zurdo won this clear to me. Don't forget it was a point deduction. We're on 15, 113. 113, 112. 117, 110. Yeah, it was clearly Zurdo. Yeah, it was clearly Zurdo, bro. Zurdo was making a miss, and Zurdo was really, I was impressed by his defense.
Footage from ringside reactions captured how one-sided the bout felt. Jake Paul dominated from the early rounds, and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. failed to mount any significant offense. In fact, as highlighted in clips circulating online, Julio hardly threw any meaningful punches. Jake's footwork, jab control, and physical conditioning kept him ahead throughout the match. Observers noted how Jake not only outworked Julio but also showed the poise of someone who knew exactly what he came to do. The fight wasn't just one physically, it was one mentally, and Jake stayed in control the entire time.
Jake Paul has defeated Chavez Jr. Right? This fight, Chavez got active in them last 3 rounds and he really showed his power. But throughout most of the fight and throughout those first 5 or 6 rounds, right, most of us were saying, is Chavez here to fight or not? Because he was not throwing very much at all. And then you thought maybe the strategy is let Jake Paul get tired because he's not used to going 10 rounds. And then maybe in those last couple rounds you could get him. But Jake Paul did get fatigued down the stretch, but he still held on. He looked well even in the final 3 rounds when Chavez was pouring it on enough to get over the top. I'd say it's impressive considering Chavez Jr. is a former champion. For Jake Paul, probably going to get a title shot soon. My question to y'all is, what did y'all think of the fight? When Chavez first came out, man, I'm like, he's not throwing. Jake Paul looked really active. I go, when is Chavez going to throw? Then Chavez began to throw, and you thought maybe the strategy is let Jake Paul get tired and then try to beat him down the stretch, right? Which I think that was the strategy. But Paul proven to hang on, and Chavez goes down in this one. So guys, what do y'all think about the fight? What do you think about Jake Paul's performance, and can he get a title shot?
At the post-fight press conference, Jake Paul spoke with the same confidence he had shown in the ring. He gave respect to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., calling him a tough opponent and praising the proud Mexican fighting spirit. However, Jake didn't hold back when addressing the critics who doubted him. Many underestimated his durability and questioned his chin, but Jake proved them wrong. Actions speak louder than words. He stated firmly, sending a clear message to those who predicted he wouldn't last for. Jake, this win wasn't just about silencing the outside noise, it was personal. He wanted to show that his growth as a boxer is real, and that he's more than a celebrity chasing clout. This fight marked a turning point in his journey, and he left no doubt that he belongs in serious boxing conversations. Jake walked out with more than a victory, he walked out with validation.
It's between you and Cesar Chavez Jr. tonight. Now, in round 9, the heat really turned up. Did you feel the Mexican power that he promised, or do you feel like he didn't perform the way you thought that he would?
No, yeah, he brought a hard fight there at the end, and that's that Mexican warrior style. I don't know how he was eating all those punches, to be honest. My hands low-key hurt from his face, and so respect to him. He had good cardio, and he came on strong at the end. He's a very, very strong guy, had a lot of power, but people underestimate my chin and my ability and my toughness.
Jake, Jonathan Agger of Pro Boxing Fans. During the week, you had a viral interview with Piers Morgan where he said that he didn't think that you would beat Chavez. He felt like when you fight a former world champion, you'll come unstuck. What did you prove to not only him but other people that have criticised you?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. So people can sit behind their desks and sit on their TV shows and say a lot of things about my career. But everyone's tuning in, everyone's watching, and I just continue to win.
And you mentioned Anthony Joshua. Does it end there? Would you want to bring Tyson Fury out of retirement?
Man, There's too many people for me to fight. I need more time. At the end of the day, that's the only thing I can't do is create more time. So we'll see what happens.
After Jake Paul's impressive win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Piers Morgan's earlier skepticism came under the spotlight. Prior to the fight, Piers had voiced doubts about Jake's boxing credibility, pointing out that Jake had yet to face a true battle-tested professional in his prime. He questioned whether Jake's rise was more about show than skill, but Jake, unfazed by such criticism, remained confident throughout the build-up, insisting that names and reputations don't matter, performance does. He promised to prove himself, and he delivered on that promise in dominant fashion. The fight showcased not just Jake's physical growth, but also his mental toughness and strategic discipline. By defeating a seasoned fighter like Chavez Jr., Jake sent a strong message to fans, analysts, and doubters alike. His performance made it clear that he's not just in the ring for hype, he's there to compete for critics like Piers. The results spoke louder than words.
Shit, YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking boxers who think they know about the sport put some respect on my name.
Yeah, but you're not going to get, look, you're going to make a ton of money. Listen, I think as a businessman, you are brilliant, right? I give you full credit for that. When you took on Mike Tyson as a business enterprise, there's no argument. You absolutely crushed the numbers, crushed the money and everything else. But the idea that you can say on the one hand, I'm a killer, I get in the ring with the best people, and you get in the ring with a guy who's 50, he's literally nearly as old as me.
I'm not talking about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Anderson Silva, Tyrone Woodley, champions in their sport, Golden Gloves champions, Ryan Borland, Andre August, undefeated fighters. The list goes on and on.
But what great boxer have you been in the ring with?
Former world champion on Saturday, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., son of the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, besides me, of course. Like, I don't know what you guys want to see. I tried to fight Canelo. He ducked out of it. You asked him about that. You said he's going to kill me. So what do you want? You're laughing when you say, oh, Jake is going to fight Canelo. I think you would kill him. But then you're like, oh, you're not fighting this guy. You're the problem here with this whole situation and criticism of my career. I'm trying to fight the best people, and that's why Chavez is here on Saturday. I want Canelo. I want Anthony Joshua. I want all these people. It's been 5 years in this sport.
But the problem is the only proper boxer you fought was Tommy Fury, and he beat you. And he's not even the best. He's not even the best fighter in his family.
Golden Gloves champion Andre August, Brian Borland as well. Anderson Silva was an undefeated boxer. I mean, you can sit there and make up shit, but you actually don't know your facts. I fought multiple boxers with professional records, and including Mike Tyson himself, who I think is going to be a harder fight than Chavez.
Tony Jeff openly praised Jake Paul's dedication and the serious approach he brought to the sport ahead of his fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He pointed out that Jake's ability to surround himself with elite trainers, top nutritionists, and high-end training setups made a real difference. Jeff emphasized that this wasn't just about money, it was about commitment. He noted that Jake had built the kind of environment professional fighters rely on, allowing him to improve rapidly. In Jeffrey's view, Jake's focus and structured preparation showed that he's treating boxing with the seriousness it demands, and the results proved it.
The best team in the world. He can have the best things possible. Like, he's got a hyperbaric chamber in his home, but he's got the best kind of chamber. This is helping him with recovery. Normal fighters can't afford to do this. So because of this, he's got that advantage. Now, you might be thinking, well, him getting in a hyperbaric chamber for recovery is not going to help him be a better boxer. Well, my friend, let me tell you, it is. And the reason why it is, if you think you've done a hard boxing training session and you've got another one the next day because fighters train like once, twice, even 3 times a day, you're going to recover faster. If you recover faster, what happens? You perform better on the next session. So let's just say an average boxer is progressing like this because they're not recovering properly. Jake Paul is recovering and progressing like this. We've seen how fast he has progressed, whether you like him or not. He's come from 0 boxing experience to where he's at now. Now you might be saying, well, Tony, he's fighting old men. Oh, mate. Just look at who Floyd Mayweather fought on his 6th fight, then look at who Jake fought on his 6th fight, and just see here the comparisons right there. Now back to the money. Having that money, he's doing hyperbaric chambers. He's got the best sports scientists, the best trainers around. And if I was still fighting right now and I couldn't afford what Jake's got, what I would be doing is watching what he's doing. Now, you might think that is absolutely crazy. Why would I want to watch Jake Paul? Well, because like I said, he's got the best equipment, he's got the best trainers, he's got the best team that money can buy. If you can take snippets of that for in your training, you know, he's doing something right.
Jake Paul had been confident from the very start, boldly claiming in interviews before the fight that he would win, and he delivered. He treated this bout differently, cutting out distractions and focusing solely on training. Sources from his camp confirmed everything was dialed in, with Jake determined to prove he belonged. Now, with a dominant win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Jake's vision has become reality, and his talk of building a legacy holds weight.
It's not going to be me, but I'm training harder than ever. I know this is my toughest opponent yet. Maybe not the biggest name opponent yet, but it's still going to be a super, super good fight. So make sure everyone pull up Anaheim, California, Ticketmaster.com. Be there, baby.
I was going to say that, you know, do you think this is the toughest opponent? Obviously, he's still a guy who was, you know, he's not all that old. He's got a ton of fights. He's got, I think, 61 pro fights. You think this is the toughest challenge for you if you take everything into consideration?
Yeah, taking everything into consideration and how hard he's training behind the scenes, people saying that this is the most serious he's ever taken a fight, and the fact that he's a former world champion, 30-something knockouts, and I think he wants to put Mexico on his back and represent, and he doesn't want to lose to a guy like me because he knows that's going to hurt his legacy that he's built for himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, if you see video of him, it looks like he's training hard. I think if there's one criticism, obviously, as you know, of his that people have always said is that, hey, he doesn't train hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, but he's a guy with a lot of talent. But if he is working hard and he does still have that talent, obviously, that could make for a dangerous opponent, couldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I bring out of my opponents. You know, even when I fly sparring partners in, they go harder than they normally do with other guys because they want to prove a point, because it's me. They don't want to get beat up by a guy who's only been doing this for 5 years or so. So they always bring their A game, and that's why I'm always at my best as well, because I have to bring my A game every time.
Jake Paul's dominant performance against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. reaffirmed what many had discussed before the bout. His youth gave him the upper hand entering the fight with explosive energy, sharp stamina, and fast recovery. Jake fought like someone with everything to prove. His hunger was visible in every exchange. In contrast, Julio's time outside the ring combined with personal struggles seemed to weigh on his movement and conditioning. While experience was on Julio's side, it couldn't keep up with Jake's relentless pace. The age gap and difference in physical condition turned out to be key factors. Jake capitalized on every advantage, making it clear that his youth and dedication were more than enough to overcome Julio's veteran status.
His answer he can. He's like, yeah, every fight's different. He's young, so he has a lot of energy. I think that, you know, Jake also has a lot of power. Chavez Jr. has never seen. Again, he's moving up, I don't know how many weight classes from middleweight. Probably never fought a guy that hits as hard as Jake does. Not to say that Jake's, you know, exorbitantly powerful or anything like that. He may be, but it's just he's a cruiserweight. Chavez Jr.'s fought, I think, once at cruiserweight, maybe twice now. Jake's youth is a massive factor for him. Chavez Jr. is 39. He's not, you know, 50 or whatever, but got a lot of boxing miles on him, has some, obviously, outside of the ring substance issues, been out of the ring and on and off for the last however long, has taken massive breaks, so all that's going to factor in.
Leading up to the fight, many believed that this was just another Jake Paul publicity event known for calling out retired fighters and internet celebrities. People were quick to dismiss this bout as predictable. Most even picked Julio to win, expecting Jake to finally be exposed. But Jake flipped the script. He treated the fight seriously, trained with discipline, and silenced critics by beating a seasoned pro. This win was different, and it mattered.
Breaking news, Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. And what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to, on paper, look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, gets schooled here. Chavez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he had such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What I will say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, conditioned, and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team have been very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. You know, ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, if Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer, matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take risks.
That's it for today's video.